What are location cards? What do they do? What don't they do? How do I use them? And more importantly, how do I banish them? All these questions and more are answered in today's video, the ultimate guide to location cards. What is up, Ninja Clan, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. I am, as always, your host, the Atomic Ninja G, and today we are talking about the new location cards from Disney Lorcana. That's right, Into the Inklands brought us this new type of card. So in today's video, we are going to be looking at every little aspect of these things, working out what they do, what they don't do, and all the stuff that we mentioned in the intro. So the first question, I guess, is, what are location cards? So location cards are a completely new type of card to Disney Lorcana. So far, we're used to character cards and item cards, action cards, song cards, but locations 100% new. And there are 18 different locations that have been introduced in this set. And basically, they just show off these really cool locations. They got these wonderful art showing off different parts of the Disney universe. So we've got places like the Pride Lands, we've got Belle's house, we've got the Bayou, we've got all these cool new locations to investigate as we travel into the Inklands. So what we're going to do now is take a look at one of these cards and let's work out what all these different numbers and abilities and symbols actually mean. So up here in the top right hand corner, you will have the ink cost. Just underneath there, you will have the willpower. Underneath that, you have your lore value. Then you have this lovely box of text with any abilities or things that it can do. And you've got this new symbol over on the left-hand side of the card, which is the move cost. So looking at the ink cost first, this is basically exactly the same as every other card in Lorcana. You draw the card, you see the ink cost, you pay the ink cost to play the card. Now, most of the locations are inkable. There are 4 that are non-inkable. So here we have Pride Lands, Tiana's Place, Jolly Roger, and the RLS Legacy. Unfortunately, all the non-inkable cards are stuck in Amber and Ruby. Everything else is inkable. But unlike characters, locations do not need to dry, so they are like items and actions. So once you've paid that cost, it is ready to use the moment you play it to the table. And you need to know that locations do not ready or exert. So once you play that card, it comes in the horizontal position and stays like that for the rest of the game. Now, willpower for locations works exactly the same as it does for characters. As long as it has willpower, it stays on the board. The moment you get that down to 0 willpower, it is banished and heads straight to your discard pile. How do you get it to 0? You have to challenge them. So in this example, I'm going to exert my Jim Hawkins to challenge my opponent's Bayou. And because I take it to 0, the Bayou goes bye-bye. And because locations don't have any strength power, then we get 0 damage dealt back to us. But what about a card's abilities? The simple answer is, if a card says it can damage a location, then it can. If it doesn't, then it can't. So, for example, if we took this Robin Hood from Rise of the Floodborn, he could challenge a location to do 1 damage, taking 0 damage back, but he could not use his ability to deal 1 damage to chosen character because locations are not characters. So let's take a look at Baboom, because this card deals 2 damage to chosen character or location. Or we could take a look at Robin Hood's Bow, where you can tap this card, deal 1 damage to chosen damaged character or location. Or you could look at my personal favourite, Along Came Zeus, where you can deal an amazing 5 damage to a chosen character or to a location. The only exception is the Challenger ability. So if we take a look at this Helga Sinclair, who normally has a strength of 2 and a willpower of 4, but she is Challenger 2. Therefore, she would hit the Bayou for 4 and not 2. So basically, guys, rule of thumb, if a card tells you it deals damage to a location, it does. If it doesn't, then it won't. And the only ability that a character has that actually would work is challenger. So what happens if you have characters at a location when the location is banished? And the answer is nothing. Characters at locations that are banished do not take any overflow damage, they don't take any kind of damage at all. And all you simply do is remove the location, and characters go back to an area that apparently is called abroad. So it turns out that all this time, when we've been playing Chapter 1 and Rise of the Floodborn, we have all been playing in the abroad. Now, even though locations have got willpower, it's important to remember here that characters are not protected by locations, which means if you decide to quest while you're at a location, your opponent can still challenge that character, and they can still target you with abilities or with actions and item cards as well. So, for example, you could exert Robin Hood to do a damage to a character at a location, or one of my personal favourite cards, the Plasma Blaster, where you tap, pay 2 ink, and deal 1 damage to a chosen character. Now let's take a look at a location card's lore value. Because location cards cannot exert already, it means they can't quest. So how do we get that lore printed on the card? It's really simple. At the start of every turn, you just get that lore. It's important to note here, this is not questing. So if your opponent plays any cards that stop you from questing, it does not stop your locations. For example, this amazing card from Chapter 1, Mother Gothel. Her ability says, while this character is exerted, opposing characters can't quest. Which means that even if your opponent has a Mother Gothel on the board, your locations will still automatically get you lore on your turn. Unfortunately, you don't get to claim that lore the turn you play the card, but from every turn after that, you get to get that lore automatically. The other really cool thing is, you do not need to have a character at a location in order to get that lore. You could play a location and leave it empty for the entire game, and if your opponent leaves it alone, it will generate lore in the background like a lore machine. Now, some locations come with their own types of abilities. In fact, 12 out of the whole set come with abilities. Does that mean that these 6 cards without abilities are hopeless and worthless and you should never use them? Oh heck no. And we'll go into why a little bit later on. But for now, we're going to concentrate on those locations with abilities. So these abilities will pretty much either benefit an individual character or characters at that location, they will give you in-game benefits, or they will give specific characters or types of characters some sort of benefit. For example, Pride Lands will give all characters there +2 willpower. So say for example you have some cursed merfolk and you move them to the Pride Lands, then instead of a willpower of 1, they now have a willpower of 3, making them much more difficult to defeat. Or let's take a look at Motunui, where characters that get banished there are sent to your inkwell instead of your discard pile. There are so many one-shot cards that you can place at this location, get banished on purpose, and gain them as ink. For example, let's take this Maleficent from Chapter 1. She's a 3-cost, a 2/2 quest for 1, and has the ability Cast My Spell. When you play this character, you may draw a card. If you don't have any way of getting her back into your hand or into your deck, you can play her to Motunui, then challenge something that's going to take her out, put her into your inkwell, and you can ink that turn as well. Also, you have the ability to ink uninkable cards here. Now you can pop one down in Motunui, challenge something, have it banished, and ink that uninkable card. Or we could look at the Jolly Roger, where pirate characters can travel here for free. So as you can see, a lot of these locations have really, really cool abilities. But what about those location cards that don't have abilities? Are they useless? Can we still use them? Well, the answer is yes, because there are some characters that have been introduced into the game that benefit from just having a location in play, whether that location has abilities or not. Let's take a look at Zazu, for example. So his ability is it's time to go. While this character is at a location, he gains +1 lore. Or we could take a look at Mickey Mouse, Stalwart Explorer, who actually doesn't need to be at a location for his ability to work. It says, let's take a look. This character gains +1 strength for each location you have in play. And now it's time to start talking about that new symbol, the move cost. Very simply, the move cost is how much ink you need to spend to move that character. So let's take a look at Kuzco's Palace. You spend 3 ink and a character can move there. Or the Queen's Castle, where it will cost you 1 ink to move there. Now, you can only move to your own locations. You cannot move to your opponent's locations. It doesn't matter how cool their location is, you can't do it, okay? So, because a location doesn't need to dry, you can move a character to a location the turn that it's played, which is great, because it means you play a location and you can then take advantage of those abilities straight away. The other really cool thing is, if you already have a location in play and you play a character, that character, even though they cannot quest or challenge because they're still drying, can still move to a location straight away. Again, taking advantage of any abilities that card has. But do remember, you still have to pay the move cost. It also doesn't matter if your character is ready or if it is exerted. So you could quest with a character in the abroad and then move to a location as long as you pay the move cost. However, once you are at a location, you cannot move from that location back to the abroad. The only way you can move that character is if the location gets banished or if you decide to move to a different location. And to do that, you just pay the cost of the new location you are moving to. So, for example, if we wanted to move Kida from Neverland over to Kuzco's Palace, then we would exert 3 ink to be able to move her there. And it's also cool to know that when you move either from abroad to a location, from location to location, or even if your location is banished and you move back to abroad, moving a character does not exert the character. It does nothing to the character at all, apart from physically moving the card. So how many characters can you have in one location at any given time? And the answer is, it's unlimited. That's right, there is no limit to how many characters you can have at a location in play. And of course then the next question is, how many locations can you have in play at the same time? Well, to say that this is unlimited is not true, because you still have to follow basic deck building rules. So we know that we can have up to 4 copies of one card in every deck. There are 3 locations per ink, and generally we use 2 inks per deck, which gives you a grand total of 24 possible locations per deck. And before we end this video, you should know you can get the enchanted version of Kuzco's Palace, Belle's House, the Pride Lands, and the RLS Legacy. So guys, hopefully you are now up to date with all the things that locations can do, what all the things on the card mean, the abilities, the move cost, all that kind of stuff. And hopefully you enjoyed this video too. If you did enjoy this video, click that like button, click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you never miss another Lorcana video, and let me know in the comments below, did I miss anything guys? Have I overlooked anything? Or if you have any more questions about locations and how they work, or general wonderments, let me know in the comments below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. But until next time, I've been the Atomic Ninja G, you guys have been awesome, and this has been the ultimate guide to locations.